Hello, welcome to Paleo Greenbird. I'm Greenbird, and today I'm going to take this Flintridge preform that I made a while back. I'm going to try and make a nice arrow point out of it using indirect percussion, or at least thin it down a little bit. As you can see, it has some very thick sides over here, some thick edges, and it's not really shaped that great, so it's got a lot of work that needs to be done to it. So hopefully I'll be able to take this and turn it into something that will be able to turn into a point. So I'm going to try and get that thick side first. I don't really have a lot of really good platforms, but I'm just going to kind of wing it a little bit. There we go. Took a really good flake. I'm trying to support under this leather pad. This is really soft leather, so it doesn't give really any resistance. It just protects my fingers. And I'm going to try and take out that thick spot. Get me a pair of jeans. There we go. That took a little bit off. Got to be careful not to put too much pressure on the bottom here, or I'll stop those flakes from driving. Just enough to support them. Oh, that was too bad. I think I'm at the point now where I need to make some platforms. Can't expect magic. So I'm going to hit it on the opposite side because that's what's going to create my platform. There's my flake. That was a good flake. Good one. This is slipping a little bit because I'm wearing pants that are kind of slippery. I need to get myself a pair of jeans. It's kind of weird. The support on indirect percussion, at least what I've noticed, is so much different from direct percussion. It doesn't seem like N-shock is as big of a issue as far as supporting the whole stone. Hopefully now that I say that, I don't end up getting N-shock. Yeah, but look, that thinned that out already really good. Oh, I thought I took the tip off, but I didn't. I just really thinned it. Or maybe I took a little bit of it off. But it's really thin now. That was probably all that talk about N-shock. Had to come back and get me and show me that N-shock is still a thing. Yeah, nice thin flank. This is a really interesting technique. I don't have a lot to say while I'm doing this just because I'm pretty inexperienced at it. But it's a lot of fun. You can get some really thin points. Got a bit of a step over here I'm going to have to work out. I have a platform for it though, so I'm going to try it. See what happens. Take it, I'm going to push up a little bit and in, see if that helps. Yeah, it's just too deep. I'm going to keep it flatter, actually. See if that helps. See if I can get it from this side. This is risky because this is the side that has a good shape to it already. I think I'm going to hold off on that. Like any problem in life, if I can't fix it the first couple tries, I'm going to come back to it at another time. So we come back to this side over here, do some thinning. Didn't have very good support that time. I'm lucky I didn't break it. Thinning flake there. This technique does give you really good thinning flakes, that's for sure. Can't wait till I have this down. Try to get it off the base here. It's all about getting that base thin. Let's try it from the other side. Forward a little bit more. Keep this as straight as possible. Yeah, there we go. A nice flake. You tip the camera up just a little bit so you can see it better. Much. Okay. See a thick spot over here. Let's see if we can take that. Nice thinning flakes. That's a good one. Got some sort of cold going on. I don't know what it is. It's just in my chest. Could be from napping. Maybe I'm breathing in too much dust. Who knows? The support is so much more forgiving with indirect percussion. It's amazing. Oh, there we go. I knocked off that nasty step that I had there. That was a great strike. I wish I showed it to you before I took this strike. Very cool. Kind of seems to me like with this indirect percussion, a opposed to direct percussion, and I don't know, I could be wrong. Someone tell me if I am, but it seems like the most important support is right under where you're taking the flake, not necessarily tip and base, like it normally is. Now that I say that, I hope I don't bust this. Yeah, nice long flakes going across there. Huh. This is so triangular that I have some space on either side to reduce in order to get this into like more of an arrowhead shape, which I like because that just means I have some forgiveness. I make a mistake, a little bit more comes off than I wanted. I can kind of tell, and guys tell me if I'm wrong, but I can kind of tell when I have good support, when I get a good flake, I don't feel it hitting my finger. Whenever I hit my finger, I think my finger is too far across the point, which probably, if I had to guess, is preventing the flake from traveling. The one different thing about this style too is that it seems like I need to zigzag a lot. Yeah, felt my finger there, no flake. Oh yeah, no finger, nice flake. This is really cool. Alright, now my base is pretty thick. I need to do something about that. Last time I tried to drive a flake from tip to base, from base to tip rather, I ended up cracking it, so I'm guessing that that's where end shot comes in, so I'm going to support the tip in that leather. Try and take a flake from the base forward. This wasn't too bad. Wasn't too bad either. I'm getting a nice thin little preform here. This technique is working well. Push in and up and in a little bit. Alright, I feel my tip sliding. I'm going to have to hammer that back in. I hammered it in, but for some reason I just can't get it to really seat well. Give it some. Give it a little bit more than what I had been. Excuse me. Already this is way thinner than it was when we started. Probably can't really see it, but there are flakes coming off when I'm hitting it. Pardon me. Some sort of a chest cord. I don't know what it is. I think Dave Tembear is sent me his allergies. Just kidding, Dave. Just kidding. Alright, I'm just going to shape a little bit. Nothing fancy going on here. I'm trying to keep my rod up. I've got a little bit of feedback from Jet Crafty that my rod was sagging a little bit, so Some of that could be the chair I'm using, my posture. It could be a lot of things, but I'm trying to keep that in mind. See, look at those nice thinning flakes. It's crazy how thin you can get points with this technique. Let's trim this a little. Small thinning flakes, even though I'm trimming. I wish I could finish this whole point with indirect, but unfortunately, with my skill set right now, I'm probably going to have to use some pressure. Really cool. So I'm going to grind this just because it's starting to get kind of, it's getting thin, but the shape is starting to get away from me. And being that it's so thin, I want to start to shape it because the next step is going to be pressure. So, let's get some shaping on this side. I tried to find the side, I don't know if you can see that or not, but this side kind of has flares out a little bit. It's a little bit thicker, so I'm going to try and trim that down, move it into the center line, kill two birds with one stone, thin the point and get rid of that edge and shape it. Oh yeah, that was really good. Jack Crafty gave me some advice of being more aggressive with my strikes, and it's definitely helping me. Dave Tembears gave me some good advice, told me to get some jeans, but I've yet to do that. I will though, because this thing just slips through. These are like basically Dickies that I'm wearing. I have a lot of those for whatever reason. Kind of like, you know, nice rugged outdoor work pants. So this edge is pretty good. There's a kind of a divot right there, but I'm gonna leave that there because I might be able to actually use that as a notch. I'm gonna be opportunistic. Excuse me. Hopefully I'm not dying from silicosis. Alright. I'm going to stick with the theme, and at least I'm going to try to. And I'm going to use antler. Try and trim this up a little bit. Got some obsidian stuck in here. Last night, I was going to do some obsidian slabs, and I just snapped one after another. I went through 4 of them. I think I know what the problem was, but being that this is a family-friendly channel, I'll let you just come to that conclusion yourself. Okay, so I'm just going to try and shape this a little bit. This is really thin. This is super thin. Well, I mean, for me. Get this shape. Yeah. Well, that indirect technology really gets thin points. And it's nothing new. I mean, the old boys, they used punches and stuff too. This is just a different application of it. Not sure if they ever did this or not. To the best of my knowledge, Jack Crafty invented this particular technique. There's rockers out there and all kinds of devices that sort of do the same thing as Indirect, but I don't know, I don't like to use a device. I'd rather, you know, use my hands, my mind, my own judgment. It just feels like if I'm going to use some sort of a contraption, I might as well just buy the point. What's the point of making it? So I'm using this leather on top of my pad. The reason I'm doing that is because I find with some of these thinner points, you know, that groove can sort of be your enemy. But I want a little bit of that groove, so I'm putting the leather pad. I could just put this right on my hand. In fact, you know, if you've watched Dave Tenbears, he just puts it right on his wallet. There is no groove. I sent him a pad with a groove, but he's probably thinking to himself, what do I need this for? But there are times when that grooved pad does come in handy and does help. Just want to get this to a point so I can try and finish it. I might need to take that tip off and kind of start a new one. We'll see. Got my homemade bug spray on, but it's starting to kind of wear off a little bit. It only lasts for about 2 hours. Real easy though. If you want the recipe, I have it on my page. In that particular video I used vinegar. I used witch hazel instead of that. I didn't have any witch hazel, so I used vinegar. Vinegar will work too if you don't have witch hazel. It does work. The only reason I switched to witch hazel is because that also has, you know, anti-insect properties. So just trying to bring this into shape. Kind of have to be careful because this is really thin. At least for me, it's thin. One spot just does not want to come into shape. It's a little bit too thick. So I'm going to move it into where my groove is. Got to be careful though, you don't want to push too much into the groove, you'll break your point in half. I did that about 6 times last night. Should have stopped, but I was too stubborn. That thing is that is a stubborn point. I'll do it this way. Nothing wrong with just putting it on your leg and your hand pad, just chipping away. A lot of times you can actually get a better view and perspective. But I need to get, there's a thick spot there that needs to come off. Okay, got that thick spot off. Now you can see the base is a little bit too wide on this side, so now I'm going to have to trim that base just to match, and we'll be ready to notch after that. This came out nice. This is a cool point. I'm going to keep this because this is probably, I shouldn't speak ahead, but if this comes out good, this will be my first decent point from indirect percussion. Nice and thin. It's got a center line. So on this one side could use a little bit of work. But let's take a little bit more of a trimming on this side, and then we're going to grind this off and we're going to notch it before I take this so thin that I just break it. So you can see we got this pretty thin. This is really thin. I think so anyway. Let me know what you think. Even though that ear is kind of messed up, I'm just going to use that because that's where I'm going to notch the other side. I'm going to capitalize on that. I love being opportunistic when I'm flint knapping. Trying to get off all the weak stuff that's just going to either give me a problem when I try and flake it or just doesn't want to be there. It shows me some of the junk over here that needs to come off. You can see this edge is good, but this edge needs some more trimming. So before we notch it, that's what I'm going to do. It's not a lot, it's just a little bit. It'd be easier if I was using copper, but I'm not gonna. I love copper, and there's nothing wrong with it. I've just been sort of feeling something that makes me want to get away from the copper and go a little more traditional. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with copper. I mean, it's the old boys, they did the same thing. Whatever they could get their hands on that would give them the best advantage, that's what they used. Just because they didn't have copper at that time doesn't mean that they wouldn't have used it if they did. So there's nothing wrong with it. Get that off. Alright, I should stop before I break this. But if you've watched my videos, you know that I pretty much say that throughout the whole thing. I'm like, I should stop, I should stop, I should stop. Oh crap, should have stopped. Alright, so we have a nice little triangle here. Much better shape. Right? Can't see anything in the camera, but I hope you can. Nice and thin. So I'm going to grind this off, and then we're going to notch it. We're going to have a nice point. And it might be a little bit wavy on the center line. Maybe I could smooth that out a little bit if I was to sharpen this. We'll have to see. So, I guess I'll try and stick with bone. Try and match this notch here. I may have to switch to copper for this. But let's see. So I've got a notch right there. Let's try and match that notch on this side. Let's do it from this angle. I'm going to use my leg as support as best I can. I think. So far, so good. I don't know if I'll get deep notches with this bone though, because it's not very sharp, this antler. Yeah. Yep, I need something a little bit sharper because this is so thin. I mean, I've got notches. I could half that just as it is. But let's make it look pretty. I may have already stalled these notches with the bone. We'll see. Yeah, it kind of feels like it, but there we go. There's a flake. There's a flake. So these probably won't be, you know, super deep corner notches, but we'll make them haftable, make them look decent. You can see over here, this ear blew off. So I'm just going to have to trim this one to match it. It's not a big deal. Make sure not to trim too much. Alright. I'm going to keep driving those notches upward. If I can get them up enough, maybe I'll even trim that stem off a little bit. Make it look better. Probably not though. Ah, dang it. Got that ear again. Well, I think this one just wants to be a stem. I mean, we have notches in there, but they're not that great. I'm just gonna shape the bottom of this into like a, you know, kind of a cool stem-like looking thing. Not a straight stem. We'll give it some shape. Make it look like we did it on purpose. Nibbling on the edges just to round this off a little bit. I find that the rounded stems, to me, I think they look a little bit better than the straight stems. I don't know if that's just me. Could be just me. So we got the stem, but that's not going to stop me from trying to get those notches in a little further. Just for the look of it. That will also make it look like we did this on purpose. This one's a little stalled. There we go. Okay, it's not bad. We should stop before we screw it up, right? So that one's a little bit rounder. This one's a little bit sharper. So let's sharpen this other one up a little bit. Just to match them up. cool. I've got bees flying around. That's pretty cool. So I'll grind this and I'll show you what it looks like. Pretty happy with this. It's a little bit down and dirty looking, but who cares? As long as it will kill. Right? A bit of work on the tip. Just a tiny bit. Don't take too much off. Alright, so we're going to call this good for now. I can come back and I can polish this up a little bit. Around everywhere I'm recently working. And this one, the one ear looks a little bit longer than the other, but I'm not going to worry too much about it. Actually, maybe I'll trim this up just a smidge. Just a tiny bit. Gotta be really careful here, because if you bust that ear off, you've ruined the whole thing. Just the tiniest of tiny amounts. My rooster. Alright, so here we are, guys. We're done. This time I mean it. We have this point right here. You can use a little bit of cosmetic work on the sides. I'll do that later off camera. So this is our point. Nice and thin. Great center line. Ready to be hafted. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you like, I hope you share, I hope you subscribe. I hope you're having an awesome day. This is Paleo Greenbird and I am signing out.